What is going on, everyone? Welcome to Rip City Retro. I'm Eric Brandt. Excited for another live stream with you guys. We have a ton of coaching rumors over the last few days since I streamed last. I'm back in my home from Mexico. Thanks to everyone who tuned in for that show the other day from Mexico. That was a lot of fun to talk to you guys while I was there. And but I'm glad to be back. Glad to be in on another live stream talking about all these Blazer rumors that we've heard. And then also, we have the Deni Avdija snub of the third team All-NBA. Some might say he should have deserved more. We'll get into all of that. How is everyone doing? Hope your Memorial Day weekend is going well. Thank you to all those who have served. And I'm just excited to talk some Blazer basketball with all of you. First off, though, got to talk about this game tonight. The Spurs take care of business. We got Scott Foster, the equalizer, bringing this series back to 2-2. Spurs played a great game tonight. Excited that game that series is tied 2-2 instead of 3-1. Just makes it much more exciting. With the other series being 3-0, well, not if you listen to Kenny Atkinson, because apparently to him, analytically, they've won 2 out of 3, the Cavs. So they're going to hang that banner over the summer that analytically they've actually beaten the Knicks so far. So that's all they have to hang their hats on after they've gone down 3-0 in that series. Looks like the Knicks will be in the finals waiting for the winner of the Spurs Thunder series, which is now a best of 3 and will be a very good, entertaining 3 games to watch if it goes 7. If not, obviously still going 6 is good for that series. So still excited for a lot of basketball. Will the Knicks finish off the Cavs tomorrow? And if they do, will it result in them being able to rest? Will that rest do them well against they'll play playing against a team that is going to be in a battle this series, either the Thunder or the Spurs, whoever comes out of that series. So it's just going to be some exciting basketball from here on out. I don't think the Knicks can beat either the Spurs or the Thunder, but you never know. So pretty excited. As I was saying all year, though, the Knicks and the Cavs, I thought both teams needed to make a run at the finals. And if not, there was no excuses this year. They didn't have a fully healthy Boston Celtics team to contend with. And then the Celtics actually end up getting healthy, and they get knocked out of the first round after being up 3-1 and blow that lead. And then you have the Philadelphia injuries. The Knicks easily took care of them. The Cavs had a pretty easy first couple of rounds, or what should have been fairly easy. And so, those two teams needed to get to this point. I don't know if that's enough for the Cavs if they get swept. I mean, I can kind of see what Kenny Atkinson was saying. They should have won game 1, and if they do hold on to win that game, things are probably a lot differently, just confidence-wise. The pucker factor for New York becomes different. All the pressure is on them to win game 2 instead of back on the Cavs to not go down 2-0, and then they fall down 3-0. So, I think the series plays out a lot differently, just mentally and psychologically, if they hold on to win that game and not blow that lead. But they didn't, so the Knicks took advantage of that. And they've been rolling since. And the Cavs are probably going to make a lot of changes. Now, the report today is that they are unwilling to include Evan Mobley even in a Giannis trade. And if that's true, they're going to have to change over a lot of their roster around Evan Mobley, which probably means trading Donovan Mitchell if they can't get him to agree to an extension. So that's the most likely thing that's going to happen. And I mean, it'd be cool if they changed their mind and we could somehow, as Blazers, get involved in that, even if we didn't end up with Giannis getting someone of Evan Mobley's caliber would be pretty cool, but it doesn't look like that's the route that Cavs are going to. Excuse me, I had to sneeze. Anyways, yeah, so playoffs are winding down to the finals. We got the draft in about a month. So yeah, Matt says, what's up, Matt? Giannis to Celtics, Jaylen Brown to Blazers. Yeah, I don't know if the Blazers would do that, but yeah, you never know. Certainly the salaries match up for a Brown for Giannis type swap, with Brown going to another team possibly. What's up, P-Town? What's up, Luis? What's up, Umar? Good to see you all in chat. Hello, everyone out there. Let me know how you're doing out there. And let me know what you got going on Monday. Do you have to work? Do you have it off? Obviously, if you're not in the United States, you probably aren't celebrating Memorial Day. But yeah, a lot of people have it off here in the States. So yeah, let me know what you're doing. Let's get into Deni Avdija. It was announced today by the NBA, all three of the All NBA teams. Let me just bring those up. We have sorry, I should have had this prepared. We have first team SGA, Jokic, Wemby, Doncic, and Cade Cunningham. Second team goes to Jaylen Brown, Kawhi Leonard, Kevin Durant, Jalen Brunson, and Donovan Mitchell. Third team, we got Tyrese Maxey, Jamal Murray, Jalen Johnson, Jalen Duren, and Chet Holmgren. And that's 15 players, 5 on each team. Unfortunately for Deni, it is number 16. He is the first player he received the most votes of any player that did not end up making the team. So yeah, it's kind of unfortunate. Let me know in chat. Who would you have put him over? Do you think he should have been on there? Do you think it's right? You could have seen him make the third team. But also it's not super surprising that he didn't make it. Or do you flat out don't think he deserved to be on one of the three teams? I kind of fall into the second to last thing I just said there. I thought he could have been on the third team. I don't think it's like a travesty, other than it would have been cool for Blazers to, obviously as a Blazer fan, to have a Blazer back on the All-NBA teams, other than Dame. And then you go back to LaMarcus. It's been a long time to have people on those teams. So would have been cool, but yeah, it wasn't meant to be this year. Unfortunately for Deni, he just didn't end the season great with that back injury. Not his fault. He tried to battle through that, played in a lot of games that hurt his stats a little bit when people box score watch or whatever. And so yeah, it's just a tough situation for him to manage, like dealing with a back injury that's making your play suffer a little bit. And obviously he shot really poorly from 3 from there on out once he hurt his back. So that kind of being fresh in viewers' mind towards the end of the season, I think hurt him a little bit. If that didn't happen or the voting takes place prior to that injury, I think he probably makes it. Now I see Samuel, what's up Samuel, asking in chat, thought Luka didn't play enough games. He actually appealed that. One of the games, I forget what the reasoning was. It was something non-injury related or something, and he appealed that shouldn't count, and he won his appeal. Yeah, birth of a child or something like that. Um, and so he was granted eligibility, and that was that weird thing where the playing games, the voting isn't supposed to occur after the playing games, so that might have actually helped Deni a little bit gain some votes because he had such a good playing game to get the Blazers into the playoffs. Um, but yeah, so the NBA didn't rule until I believe that Friday after all the playing games have been concluded, or at least some of them. And so yeah, Luca, and I want to say it was Luca and one other player got eligible to be it, and then Anthony Edwards, I think they denied his appeal, so he was not on the teams. And there were several other players, obviously, that didn't qualify games wise either. Giannis, for example. So like, I see a lot of people saying, "Well, Deni's the 16th best player in the NBA. That's pretty good." And yeah, that's great if you look at it that way. There were a handful of players that are obviously better than him that didn't qualify, but yeah, I mean, I don't think this was like egregious or anything. I think he would have deserved to be on the team. I think he clearly deserved consideration for it. Um, I don't think any of the names above him are like, oh my God, he made it over him. Um, yeah, so I kind of feel how Lewis says in chat. He says he feels like Deni played well enough to get the third team, but so did all the other guys that made it. Kawhi had a really good year. The fact that he qualified games is probably the biggest upset there. And I think a lot of people, especially since this award is announced so late, if this was announced before the play-in game, I don't think anyone really can say anything about any of the players that made it over him. So because I saw a lot of Kawhi Leonard, and obviously the Clippers got off to a bad start, but Kawhi was fantastic this year, and he played enough games to be eligible. So I think he clearly deserved to be up there. Maybe not second team, but I think he deserved to be an All NBA player. Kevin Durant had a really good regular season. Once again, you can't factor in the playoffs when you're trying to think about this. Now, it does affect, I think, like next year, whatever, especially in the case of someone I'll talk about in a minute. But like Durant, I mean, he had a fantastic regular season. So that's what this award is for. So like, I think once again, you can maybe argue that he wasn't a second team All NBA guy, but definitely I think deserved to be on one of the All NBA teams. And then the third team, I mean, we can argue about some of these guys. The biggest name that people are going to have a problem with is Jalen Duren. And that is exclusively because of him playing like absolute crap in the playoffs. So if you didn't have that fresh in your mind, if you just base it on the regular season, which this award is for, then you can't deny that Jalen Duren had an excellent regular season. Now, I'm not saying necessarily he should have gotten it over Deni, but I mean, I don't think like anyone got anything wrong. I think they were both deserving. They're just only a certain number of spots. And unfortunately for us Blazer fans, it was the Blazer that got screwed out of that last spot. But I think Jalen Duren deserved to be there. His team obviously had the 1 seed, as Kirk points out. What's up, Kirk? And then, they had a first team All NBA guy in Cade too. So, but he was clearly their second best player this year during the regular season. And I think flaming out in the playoffs like he did this year not only is going to cost him a ton of money, because I don't think the Pistons, you cannot give him a max contract with the way he performed in the playoffs, but I don't think that should preclude him from winning this award because the voting had already taken place, first of all. But second of all, I do think Now next year, I think if he has a really good regular season like he did this year, I do think that does affect people's mind how they vote. So it doesn't affect this year's voting, obviously, but um, I do think it'll affect him making a team in the future if it comes down to him and someone else. I think they'll go with the other person. That happens with MVP a lot too. Someone goes on a big championship run and finally wins something after not having good playoff record. And as Kirk points out, if we had a better regular season record too, I think Deni probably gets boosted by that. Tristan, what's up? He says Deni was borderline for me. Him not making it is a crime or anything. I think if he did make it, he would have deserved it too. And that's right where I'm at. I do think he deserves some recognition for the type of season he had. We know he didn't get the most improved player either. So that him missing out on both of those awards barely just kind of sucks. But I don't think. I mean, a lot of people said Chet too, but I mean, Chet was also, second best player on the best team in the West. So I don't know how you leave him off necessarily. Once again, might not be having the greatest series against Wemby, but he deserved to be on there. Tyrese Maxey's a great player. Jamal Murray, finally made an All-Star team this year. He had one of his best seasons as a pro. So I definitely think he deserved to be on there. And then Jalen Johnson, I mean, he was fantastic for the Hawks. They trade Trae Young, go on this huge roll, and make the playoffs outright, avoid the play-in game altogether, right? If I'm not mistaken, didn't they avoid the playoffs, the play-in game altogether? And then once again, climbing out of the playoffs doesn't really, it doesn't matter to this voting process. So, I'll listen to an argument over, 3 or 4 of those guys that Deni deserved to be above him. But I also don't, I could easily make an argument that those guys did deserve it. And that's part of the, it's part of the process that sucks when, you have multiple guys that all deserve it. This happens in the All-Star game. This happens in the All-Star game or for the All-Star game voting and stuff where, there's multiple guys that deserve that last spot and it can only go to one person. And in this case, there's 15 people, but, yeah. James says he had a good first half of the season, second half not so good. You're not going to get a ton of credit for having one good year. Let's see what he does from now. I'm assuming you're talking about Deni and not someone else. And yeah, I mean, Deni, you could argue he had a really good second half of last year. So it wasn't just one good year, in my opinion. I think he had one, half a good year. The season prior had shown some signs other than that, not just one. Like, it's not like he was only good at one point, but yeah, I think, just that back injury really hurt his chances. He doesn't get hurt, and I think we're having a completely different conversation. Or like Gray Hughes points out, what's up, Gray? He says if we had decent shooters, he would have averaged over 8 assists, and that's also true. So he didn't have the best complement of players around him. But unfortunately, I mean, you're still in a case where it's a voting process against other people, and there was multiple players that all deserved it. So, I think if he's on it, you could make the case that he deserved to be on it. If he wasn't going to be on it, I think you could definitely make the case that he got snubbed. But I don't think this is some sort of travesty that the NBA had against him or anything. Gregory asked in chat, who would people take off? Uh, yeah, I don't know. Has anyone named anyone that you thought Deni deserved to be over on there? Kirk did ask earlier, does him not making a team help us pay him less when his extension comes? It's still to be determined if he makes All NBA the next 2 years. He still has 2 more years left on his cheap contract. So if he makes the All NBA the next 2 years, I think he still qualifies for it. If you make 2 out of 3 years, I think it is. So I believe that's still to be determined, but this definitely helps if you have to make it 2 out of 3 years. Him not making it this year means he has to make it the next 2 years, or he's not eligible for a supermax, and that definitely helps the Blazers, I think. Now, who knows if they would have paid him a supermax, but it does help the Blazers financially if he does not make All NBA the next 2 years. So with Jalen Duren, he qualifies for, instead of 35%, or I think it's 35%, or instead of 30%, he qualifies for 35%. And it just came out today that Chet actually should have qualified for a bigger contract, but for some reason he signed it without that clause in there. So he actually took the 30%. I don't know if he did that on purpose, like purposely took less for the Thunder, or was willing to forego that for them to be able to keep everyone happy. But by doing so, he cost himself a lot of money. So, yeah. Gray Hughes with the $5 donation says, keep on trucking. Don't forget to help support this channel. Appreciate you, Gray. Yeah, I have to just say, like, Gray and I have had our battles over the years, but you're always supportive no matter what arguments we have and all that kind of stuff, and just appreciate you, man. But yeah, it's just gonna keep on pushing out content. Just I enjoy sitting here and talking to you guys, so that's never gonna change. I just hope we can do it a lot this off season and into next year and have some fun. And appreciate you all for watching. Yeah, just it's been fun. Anyways, the Tristan asks, going forward, who is the player you would trust more to be able to be the guy to build around for a chip, Deni or Mitchell? Yeah, I mean, Mitchell, I think, is the better. He's the better player, just in terms of like scoring and stuff like that. But I mean, age has to be factored in too. Let's see, how old is Donovan Mitchell now? Donovan Mitchell's 29. Yeah, I mean, September is his birthday, so going into next season will be 30. So Tristan has a good point. Mitchell has had a championship level team for 4 straight years and hasn't been able to win a single conference finals game. That is true, but he's also in the mix getting his team in the playoffs and there all the time. Now, Deni could get to that point as well, but I don't know. If you have a team built more suited for Deni with shooters and stuff, I do think he could be effective, but I think until you actually see it, you have to choose the more proven player that's gotten his team to that point. I mean, just because they fail in the conference finals or whatever doesn't mean that Donovan Mitchell doesn't deserve some credit for getting his team to that point. Especially when he has a coach that has seemingly lost his freaking mind. Yeah. I feel like Mitchell is a Timu version of Dame. Yeah, I don't know if he's a Timu version. I think that's kind of an insult to Donovan, but I think Dame has been the better player, yeah. I wonder what Gregory would say about that. or Gray Hughes. But yeah, I mean, that's one of those things. I think I don't mind if you say Deni, because I do think, like, moving forward, Denny's got, 4 years younger on him. So I think, yeah, I think I could definitely see where Deni will be better moving forward. So I have no problem with that answer. Denny's, you say Donovan Mitchell hasn't won a game outside of one, but I mean, you say he's got guys like James Harden, but is that really beneficial? I don't know, man. I mean, Allen's had some great games, but he's also had some duds. Garland has been hurt the last few years. I mean, he obviously wasn't the problem, but he has not helped them in the playoffs at all. He's been nothing in the playoffs, and now he's not even on the team. I mean, Mobley's had his moments too, but he's like not shown up for games as well. But yeah, so I do think it's not as simple as saying take the 6'8" guy over the 6'2" guy, but I do agree that moving forward that Deni probably has a better chance. But I think a team is going to give up a lot for Mitchell this summer if he won't resign, and we'll see what that team looks like. But yeah, I mean, Mitchell, I mean, you can't criticize one person for not winning a conference finals game when the other person has one total playoff victory and has only played in one series in 6 years of being in the NBA. So I don't think it's, if you're just basing it on what they've accomplished, it's Mitchell by a long, long shot. I don't even think it's close. But Deni, like I said, has the potential of 4 years. 4 years younger, so he's got 4 seasons to catch up and to pass him. So I definitely don't have a problem with seeing the potential in that, but I don't think you can argue that Mitchell has carried a team further to this point in his career. But yeah, let's switch gears. Let's talk about this Blazer coaching search. And this is, I don't know if out of control is the right phrase to use. I don't know how you all feel about the way this coaching search has gone, but it's just, it seems like every day it's just this yo-yo back and forth about how cheap he is, or no, wait, look, he's looking after this guy, so how he can't be that cheap if he's going. It seems like there's no real plan other than to try and get someone relatively inexperienced and perhaps willing to take a bit of a discount. And it's weird when we're talking about end of the bench guys, and cause like I gotta be honest with you guys, Chris Haynes reports that Mike Williams, who's like a player developmental guy for the Utah Jazz, is had an impressive interview or something, and it's like, who? Like, I don't. Like, Rich, full disclosure, wanted to. He originally made a thumbnail that titled this like who I thought was the best fit for coach, and I was like, honestly, I have no idea how that guy would be. Like, I have no clue. And then Heiken comes out and says that some of these guys might be interviewing for a better assistant coach position and not even necessarily for the head coach position. So if they're like guys who have been respected assistants, we talked about Sean Sweeney last episode, and we've talked about several of the other assistants. We'll get into some of the ones that are somewhat new to the list as well, but if we're talking about them, we can say, well, this guy has been respected in this for doing this in this instance or whatever. But some of these into the bench guys, I have no idea, man. And then the media is all over the place in terms of being critical of Dundon, defending Dundon in some cases. It's really weird reporting. I really have no idea what's going to happen with all this, but it really feels like there's a couple people pushing the boundaries or testing the boundaries on how much this new ownership is going to control the media or lash back at people for speaking out against Tom. Like, maybe they just let it all go and just, Tom Dundon has said himself he doesn't care what people say as long as they're talking about him, because that means they're getting publicity or whatever, or they're being brought up. And so maybe it's as simple as that. Maybe he just lets everyone criticize him and run all these stories on him, and regardless if they're true or not. It just seems so weird that so many Blazer media guys are just all over Tom Dundon and just being very critical about his cheapness, and just continue to pour it on that he's trying to move the team in some instances. And so I'm really curious to see if there's like a couple of these guys. Obviously Bill Oram works for the Oregonian. It would be very tough to pull the Oregonian's credentials. I talked about this last stream. I believe media should be able to report in whatever way they want to. Now, they shouldn't be able to just slander someone without proof that what they're saying is true. So I do think, even though that speech is protected, or that freedom of press is protected by the Constitution, I don't think you should be able to just make stuff up about someone either. Not saying that they should be fired or whatever. But it's kind of like this weird gray area for someone like Sean Heiken, who's got his own independent thing going on. And that is almost exclusively dependent on having credentials and access to the team. So if he somehow lost that, it's kind of surprising to me that he would push those boundaries. But like I said, maybe nothing will come of it. And I don't want anything to come of it, even if there are certain media or reporters that I don't particularly care for. I still believe that that's their right to cover their team, and I do believe more people should be allowed access and not less. And and so, but it's so strange, guys, coming from. I mean, let's face it, we've had years and years of almost all of these same people kissing the ass of this organization and continually defending it and continuing to I don't know if bootlicker's the right word, but there's definitely some bootlicking going on. And uh it's weird to then see them get a new owner and then all of a sudden it's just completely 180 the other way. It's just weird because like you would have assumed that a lot of this reporting was simply to stay in the good graces of the team so you can continue covering it. And I completely understand it. Now, if I had credentials, I would I would like to think that I would ask some tough questions occasionally and want to get answers on things that I find interesting and want to know about. And if that makes people mad, I might respect that and not push it too much, but that's not going to prevent me from asking initially or trying to get an answer to a question people want to know. And so I understand though the people who like that's their job and their whole livelihood depends on this, so they have to walk on eggshells. It's just weird seeing those people do that for so long and then just so openly criticize this person who they know very little about or what they could do to retaliate or whatever. So, yeah, it's just so strange. Like I don't even know what to make of it. And there's all these, it's just constant battles on Twitter with these media people and fans, and then some of them are calling out the way people fan and root for the team and stuff like that. And I don't think they should be doing that either. And then you got people like Dwight James who thinks they're better than everyone else, and now has spent the last 24 hours defending Neil Olshey and how he's the best GM since Jeff Petrie and stuff like that. It's just, I don't know. I don't know what's going to come of all this, but it's just, it's almost like everything's just a joke, and Blazer media is a joke now, and the organization's a joke because of this ownership, and it's become like funny to make sure or to make fun of Dundon and cheapness and stuff like that. And then you got Bill Oram in Raleigh, North Carolina right now trying to write an article about how Dundon succeeded in the NHL and if anything can translate to the NBA. And then both him and Heiken are talking about how his biggest missteps have been thinking it's the NHL and not the NBA and not realizing it's different. Gray says, same thing happens in the true crime genre. People want a conspiracy or controversy over just plain Jane reporting of the facts. People are riding the let's hate Dundon train, which is idiotic. Yeah, I don't know. Does that drive? I don't know. The problem is, it seems like a short-term, like, clickbait thing, right? Because if Dundon hires a good coach and the team wins next year, they make some good off-season moves, none of the firings are going to matter that much. None of the rumors of his cheapness those will all go away. And then all you're left with is all you're left with is these people who would obviously have been saying all this stuff, writing all these articles for, and then looking wrong and just completely critical of something that was not needed, and it'll make them look bad. So I don't get what's necessarily in it for these local media guys other than short-term gain. Now maybe someone like Bill Oram just goes to another city. You know, he came from LA when he came to the Oregonian, so maybe he flames out here and just goes somewhere else. Maybe he doesn't like it here. It's just gonna say this and it's either gonna make or break his career here. But yeah, so yeah, and I do think some of it is, I mean, they were friends or friendly with some of the guys that got let go, and, you know, that hurts. But this has gone on way before those firings and way before the Casey Holdall thing was happening. So all this fear mongering that they're going to move the team and all that, I'm not buying any of it. I still think they want to be here. Kirk's trying to turn this into a political issue. I mean, let's face it, a lot of rich owners are a certain leaning politically, but I don't know if people care about that too much. Because I mean, let's face it, Phil Knight is, I mean, very, very publicly backs Republican candidates for positions here in the state. So, and a majority of the people would have loved Phil Knight to be owning the team right now. So, I don't necessarily think it's a political thing. So I don't know. Casey knew he was out. Yeah, that's possible. That's possible. I do think they get some of their information with having a good relationship with Joe as well. But see, I'll always give Joe Cronin credit for just, I mean, there is an art to following a guy that was perceived to be a dirtbag and all that kind of stuff. Trevin points out that Casey did act surprised when it happened. That's true, but you know, he could have just been doing that for effect. But yeah, I don't know anything. I don't have any insight into that. So, but Joe did a tremendous job of playing up the likability factor and being not Neil Olshey. And yeah. So, yeah, then so back to Dwight Jaynes, like he's been arguing with people about Neil Olshey, and then you have all these people saying, well, I saw Neil on the streets and he told me to leave him alone, and Joe talked to me for 7 minutes and all this stuff. And so, yeah, it is kind of funny, the contrast between those two. I don't know where you guys stand on that whole argument. I do think GM wise, Neil Olshey gets a bad rap. I wouldn't say he's the second best GM since, or the best GM since Jeff Petrie, and the second best GM the Blazers have ever had. So, I don't know, but I do think a lot of people just I do believe that they don't give Neil enough credit for what he did, but yeah, I mean, obviously Neil had his issues too, and I'm not saying he was good necessarily or didn't deserve to be let go or whatever. Um, but I do think people give him. I mean, it is tough to build a team that or to maintain it at 8 seasons in a row playoff streak, and yeah, yep. But anyways, so Gregory asked, did I hear Isaac and Suk going off on hiking in Orem? I did not yet. Um, I know they don't really know Orem that well, but I am kind of surprised that Suk would go off on hiking. But I was gone all last week on vacation, so I need to catch up on. I always listen to the shows later, but yeah, I do know that Rob was fired by Neil O'Shea. He was on a show called Talkin' Ball. For those that have watched Blazers for a while, there was a post-game show called Talkin' Ball on NBC Sports, or it might have been Comcast Sports back then. And then he was on that show and was very critical of the Blazers, and Neil O'Shea didn't like it and had him removed from that show. So um, Luis says the Mexico stream was great. We need more vacation streams. Yeah, I had a lot of fun. It was good. I actually got so a day and a half. That was on Wednesday night, I think, and then so Thursday or Friday morning, I ended up getting really sick. I don't know if I ate something bad. I had hardly drank the night before, and I so I don't know if I got food poisoning or Montezuma's revenge or whatever. Um, but I was not doing well on Friday. I had it coming out both ends, and nothing I could do about it. Then had to fly back all day yesterday, feeling kind of queasy. That was a little rough, but yeah. So yeah, I don't know what it was, but thankfully feeling better now, and yeah, kind of put a little bit of a damper. Tried to power through on that last day. Had some fun, but yeah, didn't ruin my vacation. Was still awesome, but I appreciate. Yeah. I mean, the water is filtered, but I don't know how many of you have been to Cancun, but they I mean, this is like a Mexico thing, I guess, but the water just smelled so bad, like the shower water and bath water and stuff like that. It was gross. Like obviously, I'm not drinking that water, um, but yeah, it was. I mean, the ice and the water was. This is a fairly new place I stayed at. They just opened back in December. Everything was supposed to be filtered, but I mean, obviously the shower water wasn't. But I don't know about, yeah, probably some ice that was bad. But yeah, that was my first experience with getting Montezuma's revenge or food poisoning uh, in Mexico. So that wasn't fun, but I'm here now, and I'm back. I'm happy to be back. But anyways, let's talk more about this coaching stuff. I'll definitely get caught up on prime time and report back on what I feel like, or what I feel after hearing them go off on those two reporters. Man, it's crazy though. Yeah, my wife did not get sick. I mean, she was feeling kind of exhausted that night I streamed, but other than that, she was fine. I think it was just like heat exhaustion. But yeah, she didn't get sick. I mean, we ate a lot of the same stuff. I mean, we had a few, like, it's the restaurants, ate a few different things. And the night I got sick, I probably had a few more things with ice in them than she did, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Anyways, the day after we streamed, we get a report from Chris Haynes saying that out of nowhere, Jeff Van Gundy is a finalist for our head coaching position. Now, Jeff Van Gundy has been out of the head coaching game for a long time. And who knows how he'll be as a head coach again. But the one thing you can say about Jeff Van Gundy is he coached for a long time with the, I believe it was 11 seasons with the Knicks and Rockets. And if you exclude those seasons, he got fired from the Knicks after going, I think he got fired like 19 or 29 games in or something. If you eliminate that season, because we don't know how it would have played out with him a full season. But the other 10 seasons, his teams have never finished worse than 6th in defensive rating. So, pretty amazing statistics from him. Do you want to say hi?
Sure.
Say hello.
Hello.
This is my little basketball star. All right. Hi, sweetie. Anyways, so it never finished 6th, and who knows? That was a long time ago. Different defensive rules and stuff now. So maybe the game has passed him by a little bit. But the guy knows defense. He knows how to coach defense. So if you're just thinking of it in terms of that, I don't think you can go wrong. I don't think you can be mad if he's hired, because that obviously would be the focus. But I do think you would need a very creative assistant that is just here to get the offense going. So we'll have to we'll have to see what happens with the assistant coaching positions if he's hired. The problem is, it is possible that Van Gundy is willing to accept a position because he has been out of the coaching game so long. And now he is interviewing with the Magic. I know he's been a defensive coordinator with the Clippers last year. I'm just talking about in terms of head coaching. It's been a while. And so I know he's probably not going to command the type of salary that a Jason Kidd or, if they would have gone after Mike Malone seriously or those type of people. I think those type of coaches, it just does not seem to be the type the Blazers are looking for. So his name being on there kind of sucks. You're missing it. That kind of thing kind of sucks, but it is a situation where it is possible his name was just thrown out there to try to make it look like the Blazers were in on some big names too, and so see, he can't be cheap. Um, and so yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Shady says to get Terry Stotts. I know people were saying that online. Van Gundy is head coach, Terry Stotts is assistant. Um, oh, yeah. I mean, hopefully Terry could do a good job. Here's my issue though: even if they were serious about Van Gundy and hired him, I don't believe then they would pay what it takes to get a top flight offensive assistant. So I think I'd be surprised if they went that route unless it was him combined with one of these lower name guys that most people haven't heard of that you could get for cheaper, but they maybe have some sort of creative offensive system that we don't know about. I would find it really hard to believe that they would go from not or seemingly wanting to hire the cheapest coach in the league and then to not do that with Jeff Van Gundy, because I don't think he's taking less than $2.5 million. But I don't think they're going to do that and then follow that up by paying top dollar for a high-end assistant to come here too, what you would have to do to get one of those guys. So I don't think that's happening. Hyken said the same thing, so don't believe it. Yeah. But if you just think about it logically, unless the rumors that See, this is where I come back to the rumors that they're looking for a cheap coach. They have to be true. Now, to what extent they're true is probably debatable. I mean, I find it hard to believe they were offering like $1 million to $1.5 million to people, or like Tiago Splitter they were expecting him to stay head coach for less than $1 million. I mean, come on. Like that's ridiculous. But at the same time, there are not any names on this in their coaching search that's been coming up other than they got rebuked by Mike Malone. And even offering him $4.5 million is ridiculously low for a proven head coach. I didn't see the numbers on Taylor Jenkins. Does anyone know what Jenkins got? Has that been reported what he got with Milwaukee? What his deal is? If someone has that in chat, it'd be great. But at the same time, like, I don't think the Blazers are going after anyone they're going to have to pay a decent amount to. He's making $10 million a year. Yeah, so Blazers had no shot at getting him, and I don't think so. So, yeah. So, I mean, so Greg says Stotts was an assistant with the Bucks and Warriors. I don't see why not. He still lives in Lake Oswego. Yeah, but I mean, those teams paid him, and he did leave the Bucks. He wasn't actually an assistant with them. He left them before the season started. So yeah, 6 years, $10 million. There's no chance. I do not believe, even if it's true that the rumors of him wanting like a cheap ass coach are true, I don't believe it's going to go the opposite way where he spends $10 million a year either. With every name that's listed, it seems like more in the average coaching range of, or the typical initial coaching range, like $4 to $5 million a year at the most. If it's anything more than that, I cannot believe it. I just cannot see it at this point. I think he'd rather find a diamond in the rough for cheap than to pay a proven coach more. So I think, maybe if Jeff Van Gundy is a real name and they're really serious about that, I think then they're going to line his staff with cheaper guys, and I think maybe that's one of the few guys you could get that has a proven track record with a defense, and that you could maybe talk into, well, how many more shots are you going to get with teams? And this team has defensive personnel that fit the style of defense you like to play, so it really wouldn't be that hard to convince him maybe to accept a little less. But I mean, if the Magic wanted to, I mean, I could see him getting or the Blazers getting outbid. But yeah, and yeah, it was great. Points out he found a diamond in the rough with his hockey team. So, this is where so Chris Haynes had that report, and this is where it got really silly. Chris Haynes reported that Van Gundy was a finalist, and I think I don't think he meant to throw out that word. I think that was just the wrong word choice by him. But then we got into this weird thing where it was like, then, well, Thiago Splitter is also a finalist, and still in the mix. And then it came out that Micah Nori was a finalist. And so we have three finalists, like as of Saturday or something, Friday or Saturday. And it was Micah Nori, Thiago Splitter, and Jeff Van Gundy. And you got the returning coach, possibly the high rated assistant coach that's widely respected around the league, and the old proven coach that hasn't coached in a while but is a defensive mastermind. And so, yeah, like Trevin puts it, it just seemed like those guys were checked to make sure they were still in the running. Because then immediately after that, the next day, we find out they're still lining up interviews with a bunch of people, and there's people they haven't even interviewed in person yet. And so how do you have 3 finalists if you're not even through the interview process yet? So it's crazy. And then Patrick Sanders actually left the coaching staff yesterday or today. He signed with the Milwaukee Bucks, so he's going to be reunited with his old coach Taylor Jenkins. And so, yeah, see, once again, it is kind of cool to see the Blazers, be talked about every day, but it's just, this reporting is so, like, throwing dirt at the wall, right? Like, it's never like it just does not seem like a linear process at all. It just seems like, okay, we've interviewed these guys and we like them, and now, but we're going to wait a couple weeks and interview these guys and whatever. And I said this last stream, I know this isn't going to happen now. I really don't think this is an option. But I keep holding out hope that this is all just to buy time to interview the guy we really want in San Antonio, Sean Sweeney. But I don't know. I don't think that's going to happen. So someone in chat says, not going to lie, Portland is bumbling this hiring process. I don't know if they are. If they hire the right coach, none of the process matters, right? None of it matters. Dallas is actually apparently going to interview Don Staley. So we'll see there. That would be if Don Staley somehow got that job. I mean, I don't know if they'd hire her over Sean Sweeney, but if she did get that job, that would leave Sweeney out there with not many teams. I know Chicago is apparently in the mix for Sweeney as well. And then the other weird thing is, so it was reported when, I think it was Stein maybe, when they were talking about the finalist, they said Thiago was a finalist and that Portland was refusing to let Thiago interview because he's still under contract with the Blazers technically, so they have to grant permission for him to do interviews. And it said Portland was refusing to do those interviews. But then someone reported that Thiago interviewed with Chicago. Like, so who knows what to believe at this point. It's just crazy. But yeah, so then we hear that Jerry Stackhouse, who's been an assistant with the Golden State Warriors, former coach of Vanderbilt, is interviewing this weekend. I don't know how that interview went. If you've watched me over the years, that's someone that I used to be really high on. Yeah, I don't know now how good of an NBA coach he'd be. I know Rich really likes him too. I really thought Jerry Stackhouse would be a good option in 2021. When I was scouting Aaron Nesmith, I absolutely loved what I heard about Jerry Stackhouse. I loved the sets they ran to get Aaron Nesmith open in college. It was some of the most creative off-ball stuff. Now, I don't know if Stackhouse was necessarily involved with the offensive plays and all that kind of stuff, but I was reading and listening to all these interviews of Aaron Nesmith, and then I heard about this thing that Jerry Stackhouse did where he would grade basically every screen, every box out, every isolation defensive play, every, cut you made, every shot, and obviously you're going to make or miss shots, so it wasn't like that, but like shot selection, I should say. And so he would basically give you a grade on each game performance, and kind of like a school grade, out of 100. And if you didn't meet a certain criteria or a certain number, if you didn't have a passing grade in a certain game, you went and watched film and broke down what you need to do better on. And I don't know if you can be that detailed in the NBA, but I thought it was a really cool way to hold the team accountable, first of all, and second of all, I've always been big on, if you teach the detail you want in each specific thing, if you know what's expected of you or what you need to do, it might be clunky for a while you're learning how good of a screen you just set or like whatever. But once you understand that concept, there's a little bit of an adjustment where you're thinking about it when you're doing it, right? But at some point, it goes from thinking about it to just doing it, right? And once you get to that point, every screen has to be a certain way. You don't even have to think about it. I'm going to set this screen this way, and it's going to be a good hard screen. And then it becomes second nature. And I really believe that's a good way to teach. Now, no idea if it can work in the NBA. And I don't even know if he would try to make it work to that level in the NBA. But it does lead me to believe if you saw a player like Jeremy Grant, for example, not boxing out consistently game after game, I do believe a coach like Jerry Stackhouse would get on him for that. And so I do think it would lead to either a player like Jeremy having to improve that and show more effort on boxing out and things like that, getting rebounds, which he absolutely could do, or you don't play as much, or you get benched, or you get shipped out of town, or whatever. And in college, you can't ship those players out of town. I mean, now you probably could with the way you can transform your team each year, but in the NBA, it might be different. But yeah, that's something that probably works better at lower levels, like high school and college. Vanderbilt's, the rules are a little different now. So maybe he should have done better at Vanderbilt, but at the time he was there, it's still a tough team to build up. So I don't know if he necessarily deserves to be criticized for not like doing better there and getting let go eventually. But yeah, I don't know, man. I wouldn't have a problem with him getting a shot. I don't know how he interviewed or whatever. Alex Wolf says, what about T. Lue if the Clips rebuild? See, that's the type of guy there's no chance the Blazers are paying for. That's who I'm talking about earlier when I say the Blazers are not paying for that guy. So I don't know. I find it hard to believe they're going to give Ty Lue 10 to 12 million a year, which is what it would take when there's talk that the Blazers aren't willing to spend more than like $2.5 million right now and are looking at his assistant coach, not him. So I know technically he's not available, and that's the same thing I said about Jason Kidd the other day. So apparently, so Michael Scotto has had a lot of information about the Blazers, along with Stein and Fisher together on the Stein line. But Michael Scotto said one bookmark worth recalling is the last time Portland had a coaching search in 2021. Damian Lillard said Jason Kidd is one of the guys he wants. And that Portland's current price range for head coach is well below Kidd's remaining contract with the Mavericks, which is 4 years, $40 million. Kidd also expressed desire to make front office personnel decisions before Dallas hired Masai Ujiri. The Portland general manager Joe Cronin signed a multi-year contract extension. So yeah, I don't think they're paying him enough, and they're not giving him enough power, I think, to come here. But he did go on to say the stars may not align on paper for a pairing with Kidd at this juncture. There's been enough scuttlebutt league-wide worth keeping the tabs on looking ahead. So he said not to rule it out, but once again, it's hard to dispute that. But yeah, so I mentioned Mike Williams earlier. That's a guy that, according to Haynes, the Blazers were really impressed by. And he is on Will Hardy's staff in Utah, a player development coach. Now, this is the type of guy, if they hired him as head coach, it would not surprise me at all. It would just be a complete shot in the dark, hoping you strike lightning in a bottle. I've mentioned this before. I don't think it's the worst thing to get like a young, energetic guy who's going to just work tirelessly, like throw stuff at the wall, have a bunch of new ideas and stuff. I don't know if that's necessarily a bad idea. So I could understand the thought process behind doing that, but I mean, really, there's nothing other than wow, this guy interviewed really well, um, and was impressive. Like, you have no idea if that's going to translate to coaching. So I don't know how to analyze that, how to break it down, or whatever. Like a lot of these other assistants, like Micah Nori, um, he had some time as the head coach in the playoffs when did Finch tear his ACL or something on the bench, or was it his Achilles? He tore something on the bench, and then um, Mike Honora had a coach in the playoffs a couple years ago, and he's been a well-respected assistant that has been credited for a lot of development and things like that. So, um, like you never know what they're going to be like as the head coach, but you have a basic idea of what it could be. But in terms of Mike Williams, you have no idea, right? And then we've talked about Greg St. Jean in the past. He's an assistant with the Lakers. And then Tyler Lashbrook, who is an assistant with the Boston Celtics, is a new name to the equation. That's been part of the process. Yeah. Gray says, "Where's Jack Ramsey when you need him?" Yeah, we need to find our new Jack Ramsey. What's up, Chase? How you doing? I'm good. Kirk says Jarrett Jack or Jimmy Jackson. Jarrett Jack's been an assistant for a while. Jimmy Jackson's an okay announcer. I don't want anything to do with Jimmy Jackson as head coach. Kirk says lose great friends with Billups pass. Yeah, that's the other thing that might make them. And that's the other thing about Kidd as well. I mean, they already had a championship point guard with checkered past. I don't know if that's the right hire. Collins wants that Spurs assistant. I do too, but like I said earlier, I don't know. I keep holding out hope that that's the guy, but I don't think it is. Chase wants Micah Nori if we can't get Sweeney either. Yeah, I mean, I don't think anything wrong with Micah Nori. He's got it's a very different path to becoming a coach. He's been a coach of another sport. He's kind of had some different jobs other than just coaching. Just not a traditional path to coaching basketball, but certainly would be one of those guys that I think you could trust to give it his all for the organization. And I'm not saying other coaches wouldn't do that, but I don't know. I kind of worry with some of those guys who are retreads or had shots before that they just come in with this attitude like, well, I've coached a team to this level before, so you're going to fall in line and not really figure out how to make the most of your roster. But yeah, those the other name I don't see here is why am I escaping his name right now? It's the assistant with the Houston Rockets, Ben something. Ben Sullivan. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, Ben Sullivan. Yeah, I mean, another pretty respected assistant, but yeah, that's right. That's right. We talked about him before, but I don't know. I How good would the Rockets be with the men in Castle? Well, their shooting would be even worse. But yeah, I mean that defensively, I don't know how any guard scores on that duo. Um, yeah, really, I don't want Stotts, Chase. I really I don't really want Greg St. Jean. Um, like I said, I don't know much about Mike Williams. Don't know much about Tyler Lashbrook. Um, so yeah, Collins wants to know how I go about judging assistants. So to me, um, there are certain assistants that after a while get they get labeled as basically this guy is head coaching material just waiting on a good situation or his chance to coach again or whatever, or to get a his own team. And so like Micah Nori falls in that category. Sean Sweeney obviously is in that category. Um, that's the category that like Charles Lee, Will Hardy, Jordan Ott, uh, Chris Quinn, who is apparently one of the finalists for the Chicago Bulls right now. He's one of those guys. There's Tom Thibodeau was a longtime assistant in Boston, and so what happens with a lot of these guys is they're credited with usually one side of the basketball or the other. So like Thibodeau was known as the guy, the defensive guy for the Boston Celtics. So when he went to his own team, the Bulls, like, so you judge it on that. Like, you expect them to have a really good defense, which they did. And obviously, their personnel was really good. But, you know, I've talked about this several times. Nate Bjorkgren, the Blazers' lead assistant this last year, super well respected in Toronto, was thought of as one of the masterminds with Nick Nurse there in Toronto, and couldn't have had a worse season in Indiana. The players hated him, just did not do well as the guy, and then was kind of not necessarily blackballed from the NBA, but a lot of teams didn't really want to go near him for a year or two, and then he caught on. You know, he started coaching again and caught back on with the Blazers. And I mean, I don't know how to judge him, but I just there's certain guys like that just are not meant to be head coaches, and really, I mean, no offense to Nate, but you didn't really hear many players talk about him. I mean, not negative or positive, but everyone other than Sharp defended what Thiago did. You would think Nate would have been a part of that as well, but you didn't really have anyone saying, "Oh, yeah, Thiago did a great job." I also want to give credit to Nate Bjorkgren, who was our lead assistant, and I thought really did a good job too. Like no one really said that. So, yeah, Yeah, I don't really know if he had issues with players before he went to Indiana. I think some of that stuff came out after he was he flamed out and had problems in Indiana, and then it was like, well, duh, like I didn't like him in Toronto or whatever. But I don't remember when he was hired with the Pacers knowing that that was already an issue. Um, so yeah, I don't necessarily have a way. I mean, if you watched last stream, I did talk about why I really like Sean Sweeney and want him to be the coach, and that's because there's a player on the team that said he deserved most of the credit. So I trust that player, and so that's why. But it's just it's more just a wow. This like everyone's been talking about this guy for years. Oh, he's going to make a great head coach someday. Um, I'm sorry, Collins, I can't say that. And please don't say it in chat. Please don't answer that for him. But uh, I, it was someone I can, yeah, indirectly find or directly find info about or ask questions. So, yeah. Uh, I have a connection to someone on the Spurs, and yeah, yeah. I have mentioned it before, but maybe not when he was with the Spurs. But yeah, um, but yeah. So when I'm trying to judge assistant coaches, I want someone who like their current coach thinks they'll be a really good coach and doesn't want to lose them, but also um, uh, yeah. My source is Sean Sweeney. No, it's not Sean Sweeney directly. Although Sweeney probably would, it would make sense that he said that. Um, but yeah, so yeah, like Will Hardy, like for years was talked about like this guy is going, he gets it, he knows how to be a head coach, he'll be great once he gets his own team. Now you can debate whether he's been good with Utah, but I do think he's one of those coaches. Um, he's one of those coaches that uh, you can tell is a good coach. It's not necessarily his fault why the Jazz aren't winning championships or something, right? So now that the Jazz have the second pick and are going to get another good player, we'll see if they get Devonta somehow or if they stick with Peterson or Boozer there at two. But um, you just know if he had a situation where he was trying to win, he's a really good coach. And I like some of his schemes. I like the way his team plays, even though they're doing everything possible to lose games around him at times. Um, so yeah, I don't think his record necessarily is indicative of that, but um, he's. I could also see people saying he's been a failure in Utah or whatever. Like, and I mean, you can't argue with that, but um, and the same people will say the same thing about Thiago. Like, oh well, he had a positive record, or maybe even say that about Billups. Like, oh, he was on a tanking situation. How is he supposed to coach? And that's all, I guess, fair. But I don't know. Some people, it just seems like you get it. Yeah, so I see people in chat talking about Stotts offensively, and undeniable that Stotts' offense were in Portland were really good. He had a really good offense when he was the offensive coordinator, basically with Dallas in their championship run. Um, and so I could definitely see why people would say that. However, um, and there's back when Blazers Uprise had a website, actually had an article on there about how the offense doesn't translate to the playoffs, and it cited all the reasons why and the statistics to back it up, that the offense was just too easy to stop and it didn't work in the playoffs. And Portland was a lot of times amongst the worst of the playoff teams on offense, despite being one of the best of the 30 teams on offense in the regular season. And so the the problem I had with the Stotts offense is it seemed somewhat creative when he first got here. First couple seasons, first 3-4 seasons, I thought was pretty good. And then it just devolved into a very basic, predictable offense that if you lined up to stop the pick and roll, the Blazers didn't really have much of a counter other than hoping CJ goes off for 30 points or something. And you can win sometimes. Like, obviously, the Blazers made the conference finals in 2019, like getting good performances out of someone like CJ in a game 7 and winning a series or whatever, or Dame scoring 50 in game 5 of the Thunder series, you know? So you can have that happen and have some success with it. But I felt like by the end of his time here, I mean, other than Dame scoring 55 in game 5 of that Denver series, it's just the Blazers had nothing. Like, they had no system. It was just, we're going to be pick and roll and ISO heavy, and if that doesn't work, we have no idea what we're going to do. And I don't want a coach that thinks that's okay for multiple seasons. And maybe he can change, maybe he learned from that, maybe he can come in with a fresh mindset, but I want someone who I know is going to come in with a fresh mindset and has some good ideas for how their system can fit this personnel. Not just, oh, Dame's back next year, let's just go back to pick and roll with him and Deni driving to the paint and stuff. I want a system where it's got some really fresh ideas and some things that could maybe translate to success later in the season and not just for regular season wins. Greg says Stotts had no bench. Yeah, that was true of a lot of his teams. No real depth on the bench. Absolutely. I mean, the one year he did have depth, they did pretty good, I guess. Yeah. It is one thing. (2015) No, 2015 did not have a bench. That was, so the problem in 2014 2015 was they had no bench, like worst bench of all time bench. And then they made the trade for Aaron Aflalo at the trade deadline, so they had one bench player. So he was like their sixth man, but that was still, they were literally six guys. Like, they had a young Myers Leonard, a young CJ McCollum. Both those guys hadn't really, like, they were inconsistent. Hadn't CJ had been hurt most of his first 2 years at that point, so he wasn't really anything yet. So they didn't really have a bench there. Like Will Barton had some moments and stuff, but he was still young and inconsistent as well. The year before, they had Mo Williams off the bench. That was in 13-14. Chris Kaman was brought in to be a bench player. He was a disappointment. Or that might have been that. I can't remember if that was 13 or 14. But Chris Kaman was on one or both of those teams. But like, he wasn't really anything as a Blazer. They really had no depth on either of those teams. So no, 2015 didn't have a bench, and that was one of the problems when West went down. Then, Flau had to be moved to the starting lineup. He actually got hurt too, had a shoulder problem, and was in and out of the lineup as well. So we didn't really have any bench for those seasons. So no, we didn't really. Now the argument is if Portland has vets. I mean, they have a really good vet in Drew Holiday. Dame's obviously a good teammate and stuff like that. I don't know how good of a vet Jeremy Grant is. He is a vet. I don't know if he's like the help lead the team type vet. I know he did seemingly get better at that this year than he has in the past. Yeah. Yeah, Time Lord's a vet too. You can include Matisse Thybulle in that as well. But we don't even know if those guys are going to be on the team next year. And it's really crazy how quickly the narrative has changed for the San Antonio Spurs. In the first series against Portland, Luke Cornett was awesome. And he was like one of the differences in those games. And now it's like San Antonio's dominating the series when Wemby's on the floor and getting absolutely annihilated when Cornette's on the floor, and he's been like terrible in this series. So I don't know if it's just a bad matchup or what, but he's gone from being one of the best backup big men in the league that everyone was talking about what a pickup that was, to now like they might be needing a new center. And some people are speculating that Time Lord would be a really good backup center for them. So I don't know if a team like that will make a run at him, but I do think, unfortunately for the Blazers, Robert Williams is going to have a lot of suitors this offseason, and that might drive his price up despite his injury history. Now, will the Blazers be willing to still pay him? Maybe. But we don't know if he's going to be still on the team next year, considering he's a free agent. And that's the same with Matisse Thybulle. Both those guys we could lose 4-0 this offseason. Now, they would have a little bit of, they can sign minimum contracts, may or may not have mid-level exception, stuff like that. So there are possibilities they could come up with to add veterans to this roster. But as of right now, we can't count on those guys to be on the roster still. Then yeah, moving forward, I think a lot of this depends on the coach too. If they hire a Jeff Van Gundy, I wouldn't be surprised if not only do they bring Thibault and Robwell back, but like all their moves and signings are for veteran type guys. Um, if they go with like a Mike Williams or a Mike Nori, or maybe even if they keep Tiago, I could see them maybe going after a little bit younger players or players more in the Deni type timeline, mid 20 type players, players on their second contract, things like that. Um, so yeah, well now it's not necessarily the second contract because there's a lot of older players coming into the draft these last couple of years, and including this year. So who knows? But you know what I'm saying, like mid 20s, late 20s type players. Van Gundy, I definitely see more vet laden team. Most of those other guys, though, I think they'll continue to build around the kind of mid core instead of. I don't think they'll go too young, and obviously they don't have a draft pick, so uh, they could. They're gonna find a tough way to go like younger than they already are, short of just trading Drew and Jeremy and players like that for younger players. But yeah, I do think I don't know. I really still believe their plan is for at least one season to give Dame, Drew, um, Clingan, Deni, Tamani, that kind of group a chance to see what they can do. And we'll see if they're able to use their future picks, which are going to possibly become a lot less valuable. It's so stupid. I got to talk about that for a second. Why the heck would the rules apply to the team that traded the pick, not the team that owns the pick? That is the stupidest freaking thing I've ever heard. So there's a case where I forgot what team it was, the Nets or someone, or maybe it's Memphis. I forget which team, but some team owns like the best of four teams in like 2027. And according to these new rules, like Utah wouldn't be able to be in the top five, and Utah is one of those four teams. And so that team gets punished by not being able to get a top five pick because Utah has gotten a pick in a fourth and second pick the last 2 years. That makes no sense. Like, it should be the team who's making the pick shouldn't be allowed to pick in that spot for 3 years if that's the rule. I mean, not saying I like that rule either, but I'm just saying if you're going to do it, it should be like, if the Bucks are bad for 3 straight years, why do we get punished because they were bad? I don't get this, man. The NBA, I've said this from the beginning. I have no problem with the tanking. Yes, maybe change the rules a little bit to de-incentivize some of it, but I just think they are really screwing with so many things by going so far in the opposite direction just to stop something that isn't even that big of a problem. And I don't think it's going to fix the product on the floor that much. I still think there's going to be bad games and bad basketball and stuff. I don't think this is going to do anything. And you're basically just killing any chance small market teams have of rebuilding, because now you can't even, if you get a star and he wants to leave, now you can't even set your team up like the Thunder did with a bunch of draft picks. It makes no sense. It's like I get curtailing it a little bit, but to penalize a team for owning another team's picks, and not only that, but you're penalizing a team that traded for those picks under a different set of rules. You're not even like grandfathering picks that have been in. If they were doing that, maybe I could see their point, because then in the future you would know the rules ahead of time. But how do you take another team that traded, let's say the Memphis Grizzlies, they get 5 first-round picks or whatever it was for Desmond Bane last offseason. How do you punish them for making that trade under a different set of rules, and then their picks don't even depend on what happens? Like, they could get completely screwed and there's nothing they can do about it. I don't understand, man. Like, make it so if a pick has already been traded, it doesn't fall under the new rules. Like, and to me, okay, look at the New Orleans Pelicans this year, right? They sucked this year, right? Everyone knows they weren't good. But they traded their pick away. They did not have a pick, right? And so why that curtails tanking, right? But now if you're saying that doesn't matter, because if they're bad, then the Hawks would be punished. Because the Pelicans tried to win all year. It wasn't like they tanked to be bad. They were just bad. And so to me, having bad teams trade away their picks like that is actually a good thing. But if you're saying that the team who got their pick doesn't, it just does not make sense. Like, someone would have to explain to me what their thinking is, why a team like New Orleans this year, if they would have been like in this process, like let's just say New Orleans got the number 1 pick this year and they got it last year or whatever, why would the Hawks not be able to get that number 1 pick? That makes no sense. Yeah. As Alex Wolf points out, before or heading into last offseason, the Pelicans owned both the Pacers and their own pick this year, or they had the right to swap with Milwaukee. So they had basically the best 2 out of 3 between them, Milwaukee, and Indiana, who we knew was going to be bad this year. And they ended up trading their pick back to Indiana to get the 23rd pick. And then they make that trade for Derek Queen and give up that player. But yeah, they would have had the 5th and 8th pick. And maybe, Indiana obviously maybe gets a different pick because they don't trade for Zubac then, or maybe they give up different picks to trade for Zubac. It would have all maybe worked out differently, but they definitely would have had 2 top 10 picks, which is crazy. Yeah, I agree with Landon. I used to think pretty highly of Adam Silver. Thought he was really good his first few years, including making the decision to oust Donald Sterling. I thought their decision to what was his name? Sarver or something in Phoenix. I thought getting him out of there after some racist stuff came out was pretty good. Um, but man, yeah, it's seeming like he's kind of running the league into the ground a little bit. So yeah, yep. Yeah, I don't know if the new rules will get pushed through or not, but and we, I know it's coming up, but can we please just get the official announcement on the expansion too? Yeah. But anyways, that's I mean the coaching search has been pretty interesting. A lot of names that a lot of people I don't think I've ever heard of. A lot of names that are I think people are hopeful are going to be good, or could potentially be good. Um, but until they actually are in that first seat there, you never know. Um, Alex asked which I wonder which team will move to the Eastern Conference. Um, there was actually something that came out that Minnesota asked to be the team to move. I don't know if they'll honor that. I don't know if New Orleans or Memphis would also ask to move to the East. So it might be all three of them asked to move. But it's definitely got to be one of those three teams. And I mean, I don't think one team necessarily deserves to be moved over the other, but um, I hope they kind of reshape divisions a little bit. And I mean, I don't even know what the point of divisions are anymore because it's not like you get an automatic berth like the NFL for winning your division. But yeah. Landon asked if I think we're anywhere close to hiring someone. Dude, yeah, I did talk about this earlier. I honestly have no idea. Like, if they hired someone tomorrow, it would not surprise me. If it takes like 5 more months and we're talking about this, like, well, not 5 months because we'd be in the season, but like, uh, if it's like 4 months from now, we're about to start training camp and we still don't have a coach, I don't think that would surprise me now either. Like, it's just, it's so weird the way this has been handled. It's just someone said it in chat earlier. Chaotic is the perfect word for it. It just seems like we're throwing darts against the wall and have no idea which one's going to stick or which one we're gonna choose. But like, um, yeah, just it seems like it seems like they're just trying to um, interview as many people as possible and as many random names as possible. um, and then yeah, I mean, we have news a few days ago that they've narrowed it down to three people or whatever, and then you hear about like four more people that have been hired and they're high on their list. So who the heck knows, man? It's tough. I see Alex and Trevin say they help with tiebreakers. Yeah, who cares about tiebreakers? Like you can do tiebreakers some other way. It's other than tiebreaker, like the only point of division shouldn't be for a tiebreaker in the in playoff seeding. That's stupid. I'm not saying you guys are stupid. I'm saying that just the divisions in general are stupid. Just have two divisions and yeah, or four divisions, I guess. So there's going to be 16 in each. Yeah, so you could have four divisions, and the division winners should both get an automatic spot. I don't know. I do like that when there's two more teams added, it'll be half the half the teams make the playoffs, half the teams don't. I think 16 out of 30 is too big of a percentage that make the playoffs every year. and especially with the play-in. They do play. They play 4 games against teams in their division, but they also, like half the other teams in the conference, they play 4 times, and half of them they only play 3 times. So yeah, they do play the people in their division 4 times, but they also play a handful of other teams in their conference 4 times too. So yeah. All right, Gray Hughes is out. He says good night. Good night, man. Thanks for listening. Thank you also for your donation earlier. Yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up here in a minute as well. Um, yeah, I feel like there was something else with Blazer related. It's crazy. Like this is. I know we had the off season a few years ago. It was 3 years ago now, where we had the Dame stuff. We had the number 3 pick. Um, things were very Blazer centric that off season with the Dame rumors and stuff. But just it's something as simple as a coaching search. I mean, like the Chicago Bulls coaching search. I don't think. I mean, yes, in the same article that I read about Michael Scotto earlier, um, there was a part of that about the Bulls coaching search as well. But like, I don't hear nearly as much about these other teams, and it's not just because I'm a Blazer fan. It's like nationally, like so many more people are talking about the Blazers right now than pretty much any other team that's not in the playoffs, and it's all because of this media perception that Dundon's a cheap ass, um, and yeah, so it's really weird to have not only a new owner that none of us know how is gonna be or if he's even gonna keep the team here in Portland, and then uh, on top of that to have this running joke about him being cheap and um, a jerk, I guess. But it's it's been pretty pretty hectic, and it's like honestly like a lot of people. I'm never one of these people that like cry or get upset when Sports Center didn't talk about the Blazers. All they did was show Lakers highlights when we beat them. Like I don't. Who cares? Like we won. That's all I care about. I don't think we need to be it, but it. We've had some off seasons where it's like, man, there's nothing to talk about. Like no one. There's no Blazer rumors. Nothing. And this off season, it's like every day we're just there's this media battle. There's the coaching search. There's all this stuff, and the new ownership, and it's just created this um, media frenzy that is just talking nonstop about the Blazers. So maybe that all ends once they hire a coach. Now, if they hire like someone no one's ever heard of, or like a relatively unknown coach, and he's being paid like $2 million a year, I think that's going to like grow the flames a little bit of these jokes and stuff. But uh, yeah, until that happens, man, it's been it's been weird just seeing the Blazers constantly mentioned in all these reports and all these uh, people. I mean, Shams hasn't really talked about the Blazers coaching search much. Not much of any coaching search. He's too busy arguing with people about why he deserved to leak the MVP results before, and and worrying about Giannis. But yeah, um, Nick Thompson says Penny Hardaway should be added to the Blazer search. No, thank you. Love Penny as a player, but uh, I don't think he's been very good as a coach. Landon says he feels bad for the eventual hire if it isn't Splitter or a vet. Everyone is going to flame him for being a bargain head coach. I don't know. I do think if it's like a relative unknown, like let's just say they hired the Mike Williams guy from Utah, I do think he's going to get a little bit of, wow, you were only hired because you were cheap type stuff. But hopefully, whoever that is has thick enough skin to not let that bother him and actually like just make him work that much harder to prove people wrong. But yeah, I don't necessarily have a problem with that type of guy. It's just hard to know anything about what that would look like on the floor when you have no idea what kind of coach he is or whatever. But I don't know if anyone's going to necessarily flame the coach as much as they would Dundon for going that route. And it seems like Dundon doesn't care if he gets flamed. He'll wait to show what he thinks that coach can do. And if that coach has any success, it's going to look really bad, all the people who flamed him. So he's going to... I think it's hard to judge what Dundon's actual like goal is, but it does seem like he wants to win, and it does seem like he has satisfaction from... He would draw a lot of satisfaction from getting a relatively no-name coach in and then the Blazers having success. I think that type of thing, like if the blueprint for what he's done in Carolina with the NHL team, especially if they win a title, if he does that here and he hires a relatively unknown guy and gets crapped on by the media for months, and then this coach, whoever he hires, turns out to be a really good coach and helps propel the Blazers to a next tier, not necessarily contention, but they're firmly in the playoff mix next year. It would be really... I just think that he's the type of guy who just, like, he wouldn't even say anything. It was just like he would be so proud that he made all those people look silly. And so that might be why he hires a cheap person, just to throw it all, not necessarily do the I told you, throw it all in their face, but he would have that card to play if they have success. And now it could go the other way. You could hire just someone who's in over their head and he does a terrible job, and then everyone's proven right as well. But a lot of people who have a lot of power and are rich and stuff don't think that their decision will turn out that way. They always think it'll turn out in the positive way. So yeah. And yeah, Tom has been known to be able to, or be willing to pay if that guy proves himself and is a good coach. I don't think he'd then let him leave for doing that and then try to find another person like that. I mean, maybe that happens that way, but yeah. Landon says he did hear good things about the Jazz assistant. I mean, I don't think learning from Will Hardy is a bad thing, but he wasn't even like a lead assistant, so yeah. Yep. And you do have to factor in, which is one thing I don't think Dundon has done, and that is the players, once again, other than Shaden Sharp, seem to all like Tiago. And I'm not saying that means you have to hire Tiago, but it does... if all the players like someone and then you get rid of him to bring in someone that they don't really know much about, that coach could win him over pretty fast. I'm not saying that they would alienate him right away or anything, but it would be kind of weird to just let Splitter go and hire one of these guys that most of the players on the team have never had experience with or even know who it is really. And then, so then it would lead me to believe that it would be an assistant that people do know, like a Micah Nori or Jeff Van Gundy or someone like that. But yeah. Lana's question is, does Dundon not have advisors? How did he not know to send two-way guys? Other things, he admitted he doesn't know how the league works. If so, why wasn't someone teaching him? Yeah, you would think that. I mean, it was known he was going to own the team for, it's been almost a year now, so, or at least 10 months, right? So I find it hard to believe that he wouldn't have spent that time learning some of it. But, I mean, some of that stuff, like the two ways, it's hard to know. Like, who are you going to get that tells you that, Like, it's just one of those things that's common practice, but if you don't know it's common practice, I don't know if anyone's necessarily gonna teach you that. But yeah, I Burt Cole was his advisor. Yeah, that wouldn't be good. I mean, technically, Cole's still, I think, part advisor because they own 20% of the team or something. I don't know. But yeah, he should have had someone. But at the same time, like I just mentioned a few minutes ago, when you are a successful person like Tom Dundon, you can kind of think you know everything, and maybe you thought. I mean, I could very easily see him say, I did this same exact scenario in Carolina. I know what I'm doing. I'm going to do the same thing in Portland, and just quickly realize that the NBA is completely different. But yeah. The story is kind of my point. We, as a fan base, media, soft is better. Knicks or Celtics fans, media wouldn't care about the two ways not coming. Yeah, maybe not. It just seems weird. I mean, honestly, would most teams even know if the two ways, like, if it didn't get reported, would anyone have even thought during the game, oh, wow, I don't see Chris Youngblood on the sidelines. What the heck? Did the Blazers not even bring them? Like, no, I don't think anyone would have noticed. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're not eligible to play. Like, I don't think anyone, I don't think it would have ever even crossed the mind of anyone, right? It was just, like Alex says in chat, it was more just, it was like a constant barrage of, look at how cheap this guy is. He didn't do this. He didn't do that. He didn't do this. He didn't do that. And every day it was like something new. And it almost seemed like the media knew these firings were coming, and they wanted to set it up to be bad, and they continued to fish for reasons to not like this guy because he was about to fire some of their friends and stuff like that. But yeah, I know, Tyler. I talked about that at the beginning of the show. Yeah. Um, yeah, I forgot. I think Rich. Uh, yeah, Rich wanted me to let you guys know he's also hoping for Sean Sweeney, but he's down for Stackhouse. Intrigued a little bit by Van Gundy. He also is hoping that Cleveland goes full reset and trades Mobley for Giannis, in which we get involved with that. But yeah. All right. Well, we'll see what twists and turns happen from here on out with this saga. Of course, if the Blazers do hire a coach or there's any big news on that front, at least I will go live. Rich might try to do a stream sometime soon, but I'm not sure if he'll be able to. So we'll see on that front. But yeah, definitely going to try and do regular streams. I say this every time, but maybe more frequent streams, like less long streams, but more of them. I've even toyed with the idea of doing a shorter, like daily show or something. So we'll see what happens this off season. But yeah, I don't know what you guys think of any of that, but yeah, we'll definitely have some consistent shows starting now that I'm back from vacation. Don't have anything going on right now since I no longer am employed, and yeah, so I'll have a lot of time to talk Blazers with you. So hoping to provide you guys a lot of content this off season. I do like streaming because, especially solo, because I do like being able to bounce and talk to you guys with chat. So I do appreciate all of you who contribute on that front. And I also enjoy reading your comments. So if you're watching this video later, make sure to leave a comment below on who you want for the Blazers to be the next coach. Are you guys mad about Deni being snubbed for the All-NBA teams and whatnot? But yeah, thanks, Louis. Appreciate it. Or Luis. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name. Yeah. So, what's up, Ryan? Yeah, we'll have you covered here on Rip City Retro all summer long, and got the draft in less than a month. When I go to Eugene for Beavs baseball, I mean, I know the Beavs are most likely going to be playing there, but I'm not going to go to the game, no. Nope. Also, I have youth coaching responsibilities on the weekend, so I just missed the last two games because I was in Mexico. So I'm not gonna be missing any more this season. So I'm gonna make sure I'm there for the rest of that season. My daughter made an appearance on the show for a minute. Wanted to see herself on YouTube. Yeah. I didn't want to go when they played in Hillsborough. That game got canceled, didn't it? Yeah. Yeah, that was the night that the Beaver player had got in a car accident, and they ended up canceling the game. Jerry Stackhouse won't make Tom's cut, says Nick Thompson. Okay, cool. Yeah, I don't know. He was apparently supposed to interview this weekend. Not sure how that went, but yeah, everyone, thanks for watching. All Blazer fans here, right? hopefully we have a good coach that'll help us be a better team on the court, and we can all root for them together. But it's going to be a fun off season. We'll be right here on Rip City Retro to cover it all for you. And shout out fist bumps to everyone in the chat. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you all. And have a good night. We'll catch you next time on Rip City Retro. Thank you.